Hello and welcome to another video. It is voiceover Lydia here, talking you through how I filled out this sketchbook page with mini thumbnail paintings. This whole sketchbook spread was inspired by a book I checked out from the library called The Watercolour Flower Painter's Handbook. It's a beautiful book filled with watercolour flowers and lots of really helpful tips. And there was this one section at the beginning that talks about sketchbooking and thumbnails. And I know that thumbnail sketches are something that's quite common among artists, but it's not something that I have really explored. I think I like to just rush ahead and do the final painting, and I don't take the time to plan things out and do like little practice sketches or practice paintings. So when I read the section about thumbnails, I was really inspired to do a sketchbook spread using thumbnails, and each thumbnail has like a different theme that I'm trying to play with. So one of them is visual pathways, the other is patterns and shapes, then there's positive and negative space, color temperature and background. So I decided to take a buttercup and try and interpret that object in a variety of different ways, focusing on play and experimenting rather than perfection and getting everything right for a finished piece. Right now I am painting the bottom layer of my first thumbnail. This first one is just sort of like a still life painting of a buttercup. I'm looking at a picture of a buttercup and just painting what I see without trying to add any kind of interpretation. I think still life drawings and paintings are so important to get to know your subject matter and understand its anatomy. For this second thumbnail, I'm focusing on visual pathways. So my idea was to paint a flower field, and your eye is led to a point in the horizon through lines in the clouds and bushes, and also depth of field. I'm laying down my first layer of yellow for the flower field and blue and grey for the sky. For the third thumbnail, I'm focusing on shapes and patterns. My idea was to take the shape of leaves and use shadow to create a pattern in the background. So I'm just sketching it out now, and we'll add a layer of yellow for the bottom layer. For this next piece, I'm focusing on positive and negative space. I thought to go really simple and just do an outline of a buttercup and then paint in the background. This was the most simple one and actually turned out to be one of my favourites. I would like to take this idea and create more pieces inspired by it in the future. This thumbnail was perhaps the most interesting and challenging one. I am experimenting with colour temperature. all of the other pieces have quite warm tones, so I decided to try and paint a buttercup with cool undertones, and to be honest, I didn't really know what I was doing, but it was actually a really fun challenge and I'm happy with how it turned out in the end. For the bottom layer I'm painting yellow with a tiny bit of blue in it and then a cool green for the leaf colour. So for the bottom layer I'm making random marks using oil pastels. The oil pastels resist the water and create a really cool effect, and then I paint the background layer in a couple of random colours. For the final thumbnail I'm focusing on background. Full disclosure here, I pretty much copied a painting from the watercolour book. I saw this painting in the book that I really liked and just wanted to give it a go, see if I could recreate it. I don't think it's ever okay to copy someone else's work and then pretend you came up with it yourself, especially not if you're going to sell it. But I do think it's okay to be inspired by someone else's work and then recreate it in order to try and understand the process and learn new techniques. It's a good way to learn, especially if you're self-taught, but just remember to give credit to the original artist. And I'm embarrassed to admit, that being said, I don't remember who the artist was and I returned the book already and I don't know who painted it. But I just need to let you guys know I did not come up with this idea by myself. I'm interested to know if you agree or disagree with my thoughts on this, as I know that plagiarism and taking inspiration can be a controversial topic. I'm just adding some final details to the painting. I use a brush that's heavy with paint and block out where I want the shadows and the pigment to be, and then I go over it with a brush that has just a little bit of water in to smooth out the harsh lines. Here I'm trying to create depth of field by making the flowers in the foreground bigger and more detailed, and then the flowers in the background will all sort of be blended into one. So this piece really uses layers to add depth, and I've started with my lightest colours first, and then with each layer I add a darker shade to create that shadow. For this piece, I'm trying to paint a buttercup, something that is quite warm, in cool tones. And the challenge with this was when I added blue to the yellow, it made green, and I didn't want a green buttercup. So the trick was adding just the right amount of blue to dull the yellow colour, but not too much that it turned green. And in the end, I don't know how I did it, but I ended up with something that I'm actually pretty proud of, considering at this point I was ready to just give up on this one. For this piece focusing on the background, I'm just adding lots of random shapes and colours, and if I was going to do this one again, I would paint from a reference photo rather than copying something an artist had already done. That way I would have been able to look at the background of a photo with lots of different shapes and colours and shadows and just interpret it for myself rather than replicate what someone else has already interpreted. This one is probably my least favourite because it doesn't really feel like me that much, which makes sense because I copied it. It's not me. I just wanted to try it. So at the end of the day, the purpose of painting these thumbnails was to experiment and try new things in a zero pressured way, and I definitely did that, which is great. This was a really great exercise and I'm glad I could film it and share it with you guys. I'll definitely be doing it again, probably not with a buttercup but with other things, and so if you have any ideas for what I should draw or paint next, let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching and making it to the end of this long video. I really appreciate you. If you like this video, consider giving me a little like or subscribe. No pressure though, I'm not going to force you. If you want to check out my shop, it is open and the link is in the description. Until next time, I hope you have a very good day, very good week, and I'll see you soon.